The church bells rang with such force that the sound seemed to echo inside Hans's chest. He stood at the altar, a nervous smile tugging at his lips while sweat prickled beneath his collar. The woman in white walking down the aisle was Clara, the love he had sworn he would never lose. The crowd held their breath, waiting for the kiss that would bind them together forever. Yet Hans's hands trembled as he reached for her, and in that fleeting second, a voice whispered in the back of his mind, "Are you marrying her out of love, or out of fear of losing her?" No one else could hear it, but the question shook him harder than the ringing of bells. The beginning of their story. Hans had grown up in a small village where everyone knew everyone else's secrets before they became public. He was a carpenter by trade, a man with steady hands and quiet determination. Clara was the baker's daughter, spirited and sharp-tongued, known for laughing at the wrong times and speaking too boldly at the right ones. They met when Hans fixed a broken door at the bakery. She teased him about the way he kept wiping his forehead, though the day was cold. He blushed, and she noticed the softness in his eyes. From then on, Hans found excuses to buy bread he didn't need, just to see her smile. Theirs was not a fiery romance. It grew in slow steps, morning greetings, walks through the market, stolen glances when no one was watching. But what Hans cherished most was the way Clara made him feel, visible, in a world where he had always felt overlooked. Still, Hans carried a quiet fear inside him. He worried he was not enough for Clara. She was adventurous, dreaming of traveling beyond the village, while he had only ever known the rhythm of wood and nails. When he finally proposed under a chestnut tree by the river, she cried tears of joy. And yet, even then, Hans felt the same question circling in his chest, "Am I enough?" The main conflict. Married life began with laughter and shared meals, yet cracks formed in the silence between them. Clara grew restless in the small village, longing for more than routine. "You always come home with sawdust on your clothes," she said one evening, her tone playful but edged with truth. "Don't you ever want to see what's beyond these hills?" Hans shrugged. "This is home. Isn't that enough?" Her smile faded. "For you, maybe." Hans began to fear that love was not enough to keep Clara satisfied. Each day, he worked longer hours at the workshop, as if making more money or building sturdier furniture could fix the growing distance. But Clara wanted conversation, adventure, and the kind of spark that could not be carved from wood. One autumn evening, Hans returned home to find Clara gone. She had left only a note, "Don't wait up. I need air." He sat at the table, staring at the words, his chest tightening with dread. What if air meant freedom, from him? When she returned at dawn, her hair damp with mist and her eyes tired, she whispered, "I don't know if this life is enough for me, Hans." It was then that Hans realized his worst fear: love alone might not hold them together. An unexpected twist. Months passed in fragile balance. Hans tried harder. He took Clara on walks to neighboring villages, tried new recipes with her, even agreed to read poetry by the fire though he struggled with the words. Clara smiled but her eyes often drifted toward the horizon. Then came the winter festival. The town square was filled with lanterns and laughter. Hans and Clara joined the crowd, but when the music started, she danced with a stranger first. The man was tall, charming, with the kind of presence Hans could never match. Clara's laughter rang through the air as they twirled, and Hans's stomach sank. That night, Clara confessed. "He asked if I'd ever leave this village. For a moment, I imagined saying yes. Hans felt as though the floor had been pulled from under him. "And what stopped you?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Her reply was soft, almost broken, "You. Always you." "But Hans. I don't know if that's enough to keep me." The words haunted him. For the first time, Hans wondered if holding on to Clara meant letting her live a life that was too small for her. Hans's inner struggle. Hans wrestled with himself for weeks. On one hand, he wanted to fight for Clara, to anchor her to him with promises and devotion. On the other, he saw how her spirit dimmed with each passing day, how her smile grew strained, how the walls of the village seemed to press against her. In his workshop, he carved a wooden bird, a tiny figure with wings spread wide. As he worked, he wept. He realized the truth: love was not possession. Love was letting someone be free, even if it broke him. When he gave the bird to Clara, he whispered, "You've always belonged to the sky, not to a cage." Tears filled her eyes. She clutched the bird to her chest and sobbed. "I don't want to lose you, Hans." "You won't," he said, though his voice trembled. "But maybe we need to find a way to love each other without chains." Another twist. Just as Clara prepared to leave for the city, an accident struck. Hans collapsed in his workshop one evening, his body giving out from weeks of sleepless nights and relentless work. Clara rushed to his side, torn between her dreams and the man she loved. She stayed by his bed through the long nights, feeding him broth, cooling his forehead, whispering stories of places she longed to see. Hans listened, weak but smiling. "Go," he said one night, his voice barely a breath. "Live your dreams. Don't waste your light on me." But Clara shook her head, gripping his hand. "My dreams mean nothing if I lose you." For the first time, Hans saw that Clara's love was not just longing for escape. The conclusion. It was tangled with fear, recovered slowly, devotion, and Clara the same ache he carried. But their marriage was not the same. It was no longer a simple tale of love conquering all. It became a fragile balance of sacrifice and compromise. Clara still dreamed of the world beyond, and Hans still feared he was not enough. One spring morning, Clara stood by the river where Hans had once proposed. She held the wooden bird in her hand and asked, "What if we both tried? What if we traveled together, just once, to see if love can grow with the world, not against it?" Hans looked at her, the fear still there but softened by hope. He nodded. "Then let's try." The story did not end with certainty. It ended with a choice, two people stepping into the unknown, bound by love but aware that love alone might not be enough. As they walked away from the river, Clara whispered, "Maybe marriage isn't about cages or freedom. Maybe it's about learning to fly together." Hans squeezed her hand, unsure of the future but willing to face it. For the first time, the voice in his chest was silent.